Good afternoon, guys. Thank you so much for joining the conversation once more. Today I will be talking about women and do women work in the field? Are they overworked? Do they work too hard? How do they keep up with everything? There was one specific one, would Amish women work out in the field with their men, or do they just stay in the house? And also, did you farm with horses on your place where you came from? That's a good way to stay healthy because you have to be strong as hell. Working in the fields with horses is hard work. No kidding. So that is a little bit what we'll be jumping into today. And if you're new here, I am Irma. Thank you for joining me. Let me say hi in the comments. I love greeting you guys. And find me on Facebook, on Instagram as well. It's just my name, Irma Mast. I am more active on Facebook, but I am on both. And if you haven't subscribe. There will be a giveaway at 1,000 subscribers. And let's just get right into it. So first I want to begin with, we were not all farmers. So there is a big difference as far as the community that you come from, even the family that you come from. I come from a family of 13. There were 11 kids plus mom and dad makes 13, right? And so I did not live on a farm. We had a small, what I would be considered as a homestead. I grew up in about 12 to 15 years old. It was 12 to 19, 20. We milked a herd of goats, like 100 to 200 goats, with milkers. And then we used what is called the Havlinger kind of horses. So it's kind of what most people know as the big brown Belgians or Persians, the big workhorses. So these were like a mini version, the Havlingers of those big ones. My grandfather used those to farm, and so we had a pair. However, we did not have acres and acres of land to farm, so it really worked out well because the Havlingers you can also use in the buggy, and you can use horseback ride them. You can ride them, and you can also use them in the buggy, and so that worked out really well. And I will get a little more into that, but are the Amish women overworked? And I want to say this, that for one, the women stay at home, and it's not a rule that they can't work away from home, but the tradition is that the woman stays at home, takes care of the kids, kind of does the housework, and the man either farms or he has a job somewhere else. And so that is where where I come from was. I will say there's different communities maybe they have rules, I don't know, but so yes, that is how my mom did. She was a stay-at-home mom, raised kids, did all the housework, and so forth. And it was very interesting that is a question, because now, coming from that culture, something is bothering me. These curtains are one way. Okay. Now it's going to really bother me more because it's even more uneven. Let's put it this way. Okay. There we go. Now it's more even. Details. Okay. Where was I going again? Working. So for coming from that culture, and then now I'm in this culture where non-conservative, a lot of the women work away from home, both husband and wife have a job, that kind of thing. To me, I am like, how can these women do it, working a full-time job or even a part-time job or 2 part-time jobs or whatever, and raising a family? To me, it's just, how can people, how do the women do it? And it feels that, in a sense, the women are, I don't want to say overworked, because I think, for one, non-Amish, in this culture, people also don't have as many children, and that can make a difference, of course. And there are a lot of different things that can play, you know, both ways. But it's interesting that that's a question, because I come in this culture and I'm just like, wow, like the women work part-time, they work two part-time jobs, they work full-time, they raise the kids, they put the kids to daycare, they get them out, like when do they bake, when do they cook, like, so, so that, coming into that has been like, wow, like that just feels like so much. And then there's church, and there's so many things involved in church. Like on a Sunday morning, I help in the kids ministry, and there's a lot of women that serve in the kids ministry, and there's women serving in the cafe area and the welcome center, and men too, as far as that's concerned. And I'm just like, there's so many things to get involved in, and they're good. I wouldn't want it any other way, but to me it almost feels like the overworked women, I don't want to say overworked, that's not, that the women in this culture have a lot more going on. And for another thing is like the cell phone. In this culture, you know, people have smartphones and they're constantly maybe watching YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or TikTok is nowadays. And, you know, the Amish women don't have that. They get up in the morning, and I'm not saying this is, I don't want to put them in a box, because you cannot put people in boxes, right? I pop right out. I don't think we're meant to be in boxes. But a general, just thinking back with my mom and then my grandmother and some other women that I know, it was more like they got up in the morning, they make breakfast with or for their husbands, and do you see that here? And they have devotions, and then they eat with their husband, and then the kids might get up, or the kids might get up to go to their work type of thing. And back to the question, do women work out in the field with their men? So there are some that do. I used in, if I went with her, so yes, there are some that go out in the fields and help work in the fields, that the women do, and then there are also some that don't. So again, like, this is nothing a rule, it's just in general. So I grew up in a homestead, and we had some acres of land, and we didn't do a lot of farming on our land, because we had a number of horses that most of our land was either, you know, where we lawn and the house and the barn, or in pasture. But we did rent some fields in our neighborhood, or from my grandfather across the road, that we would help on the farm sometimes. So I feel like yes, I did get a little bit of some experience with working in the field, and like making hay, and baling hay, and putting up hay, and making shocks with wheat, both, and threshing them, and just like working the land. I got a little bit of experience with that. I did not grow up in a farm, so I definitely not as much as some, but I do have some experience, and a little bit of experience. I got a little bit of hands-on experience with that, and I enjoyed it. Like, if we were given the choice of doing whatever in the house or going making hay, most of us kids would have in an instant, like, we'll make hay, I want to go out and help with hay. Like, that was the first thing that we wanted to, because we had really enjoyed it. And so it was hard work, no doubt about that, but we enjoyed it immensely. And sometimes we would help our neighbors too. We had next door neighbors that were farmers, and their land was between their house and our house, so we would help them sometimes. But we enjoyed it so much. My mom didn't really help in the field, like, because it was mostly the things that we rented. Dad did in the evenings or on Saturdays, and then there were so many of us kids to help. Indeed, we farmed with horses on our place, so we did not farm, as I mentioned. And but we did have horses, yes. In our culture, we mostly used horses, or in our church, I should say, people used horses. We could have a tractor for some things, but like the main haymaking type of things would have been done with horses. Um, so back to the question, do I think they're overworked? Most of them, no. There are some that um, it felt like they were just working and working, and the men were also just working and working. But I don't think it is any different from this culture as far as being overworked, so to speak. I think there are some that are very, very busy, and having 10, 11 kids or even 6 kids is a lot. But I think one tip that really stands out to me that my mom used very well was a system. She had a system. We had a system in place for everything. Like, we had a system in place for who would wash the dishes every day, every meal. We had a system in place of doing the cleaning, the laundry, the baking, the cooking, the um, when we needed groceries and what we needed to get. We really had a system for everything, and now in looking back, I realized how well like those systems worked. And there again, my mom was at home all day. Most of the moms that did not work are at home all day with the kids, and so that is their job, is taking care of the kids. They're not working somewhere else. So housework is, I don't know. I actually do housework for a living part-time. I do in-home cleaning, and I don't know. I love it. I would rather do that than go sit at a desk and be indoors all day long. Sitting somewhere on a computer all day. So, matter of opinion, I guess. So, hope this answers some of the questions. I could get into how they clean, some of the systems that we had, and I think how one system doesn't work for everyone, of course, and I still use systems. I live alone, and I still use a system for most everything. It just works. It really does, and we can dig into that later. Have a bit conversation about that later. But until next time, I will see you later.